Is it okay if, like, just like last time we like record and whatnot?
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. Yeah, so I've sent you the study and I've added you as a contributor so that we can make moves in real time. Um, could you just make a random move here, like a king move or something, just to make sure that we can both see? Can you see H3? Is everything okay?
Sorry. I think I can hear you, actually. I think your voice is cutting out.
Um, okay, so I'm talking normally right now. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, great. So, what I was saying is I just want to make sure that like everything's working correctly. So, can you just like make any move with white and I just want to see that we're synced up.
Sounds okay. No.
Yeah, okay,
Um,
great. Yeah, I saw that. And now you see this, right? King H8.
yeah.
Okay, great. So I figured that we'd pretty much pick up where we left off last time with looking at some middle games. But then I wanted to go a little bit more into pawn structures, and then I figured we'd end off with an excerpt from Capablanca and Nimzowicz's game. Does that sound good?
That's good.
Okay, great. So in this position, it's white to play, and I just want you to talk to me again and tell me what you're seeing in this position and like where your eyes gravitate to. And again, feel free to like draw arrows and make moves on the board so that I can see your thinking process.
Okay, so the king is obviously in some trouble, I guess. If the rook ever think leaves, I can have a background checkmate. These two pawns also hanging.
Right?
Um, Basically, queen um, I'm threatening this f7 pawn here,
Mm-hmm.
and I could take.
Yep.
Well, I could also just do this here and threaten to take over here. If he takes back, then I can always just take and checkmate.
Yep.
And I could also try to think like I'm pushing g3 to
All right.
he can always just come here. Yeah, that's basically it.
I think G3 doesn't really work because of the immediate queen here, and this is just mate.
Yeah, yeah. That was not good.
I don't know if this works or not. Uh, this also doesn't work, and I actually want you to find why, if you can. Queen B8 actually immediately loses, and it's actually a pretty neat idea. So, right, while white is attacking, right, while we have a lot of threats and ideas, so does black. Like black isn't exactly like lost here. I mean, it is lost, but there's still chances for black, right? The king is also trapped behind these pawns, and there's definitely a possibility that black can launch and get some counterplay going here very very quickly, as we saw with g3 immediately losing. So what would you play as black here if white did play queen b8? I mean, obviously you can't take. If I go here, then
Uh,
I just take. And so what's an idea?
I think maybe.
Yeah, exactly. And after just takes, and this pawn is very strong, and black has this idea, right? Yeah, so good job. You saw the idea. The queen is technically hanging on b8 back here. Okay, anyways, going back to the original position, there is a winning sequence here for white, and I kind of it's a little unintuitive maybe, but you want this rook to join in the party. Okay, so what's a way of involving this rook in the game? How can we get this rook down here?
Well, maybe first you have to clear the b file, so taking the queen off the b file first. So maybe
Right? Sure.
off the country. Well, this doesn't work though.
Yeah, this is unfortunately mating.
Okay. Um,
Let me know if you'd like some help.
okay.
Okay. So, the idea here is we want to involve all of our pieces in the attack, right? And this bishop isn't really, I mean, it's doing a lot, but it's not exactly winning us the game. So the best way to involve all of our pieces is a move like um, queen to c7 here, because now we're threatening this rook, right? Rook here obviously doesn't really make any sense because that's just mate. So the rook has to go towards the king, right?
Yeah.
And if the rook goes here, then I mean, then I just queen and then, right? That's mate. So then the rook must go all the way here to f8. And now, do you see how we win the game here? Involving both of these pieces. Okay. And after I take, sorry, after I take, yeah, that works. You could also play bishop takes with the same idea, right? And these are both winning.
Uh,
Oh yeah, sorry. Oh yeah, sorry. Your idea was better. My bad. My apologies.
that's fine.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the second position. So that one was sort of to think about involving all of our pieces. Now here again, white is definitely winning, but it can be a little difficult to try and find the correct idea to actually end the game. So what would you play here as white?
It's kind of
Sorry?
hard, but I'm sure I can focus towards this, or it's kind of the crown. I don't think that really matters so much. I think I should.
It's a little difficult to understand what you're saying. Are you using a different mic or something this time?
Hello?
Yeah, this is a little more clear.
Sorry about
No,
sorry.
it's okay. I know you have a pretty busy life yourself.
Try something to move the rook somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Create space for pawn, but this rook is over here and it's preventing me from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to maybe try and remove this rook from here.
Okay. That's
I
an
don't know if that
interesting way of
works or
thinking.
not. Oh, it was just like an idea, not like I know it's bad.
Yeah. So, my eyes immediately go towards what you said, right? I want to be able to move this rook out of the way. If this pawn wasn't here, then it would be perfect, right? Because then I could check the king and then promote on the next move, and that would be winning. But this pawn is here. So how can we provide protection to this pawn and then move the rook out of the way.
Okay, I see where you're going. Yeah, so having the same idea as you just said, I'm trying to think about it.
Okay. I mean, this is an interesting idea, but I don't really see what you're doing. I can even just move my king out of the way here, and it's Stockfish is saying even. So,
Okay, yeah.
and if check, I just go back.
I'm not really sure.
Okay. So the correct idea in this type of position is just this. And now I understand why this might be scary for you, right? You're afraid of all the checks. But the checks eventually run out, and this is largely because of the fact that you do have this pawn here, which you can eventually hide behind. Does that make sense? Right? So no matter how many times black tries to check you, you'll always get in enough tempo to be able to eventually move your other rook out as well. So if we just play along like this, I mean, we're already kind of out of checks, right? Like, this doesn't really work. I mean, this doesn't really work. And the next moves from white are just going to be moving the rook out, doubling, and then just promoting. So I don't know. Let's try something like this. I can even just take this if I wanted to, and it wouldn't even be. It would be fine. But just moving our rooks here is also okay, I believe. So yeah. So in this case, what turned you off of the idea of rook e7 here in the original position?
I was looking towards like immediate moves, kind of immediate threats. I wasn't looking at like a kind of a passive move because if we look at like in terms of attacking the king or attacking the piece, this doesn't really do anything. So I wasn't thinking of those kind of moves.
Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. But yeah, sometimes in chess, we make quiet moves and we let our pieces do the work for us, because it doesn't matter if you win quickly or slowly, right? I mean, as long as you're getting to the win. So you, I don't know, in a game, would you have considered rook e7? If so, then excellent. If not, then maybe reevaluate like your positional thinking, right?
Yeah, maybe if I had like a lot of time, but even then, it would take a considerable amount of time for me to consider all other options
Hmm.
like that.
So in a game, you would just play rook g1 without thinking, basically, is what you're saying.
I would not thinking, but I would definitely consider one of my top moves to play as one of all the options.
Hmm. Okay.
I don't have the mindset to consider e7.
Okay. Okay. I see. Okay. Then maybe if we have another lesson, we'll take a look at more and more quiet moves that, just tend to win the game without finding some beautiful tactical sequence or something. Maybe that's what is like holding you back or something from climbing. Here's a third middle game position. This one should be relatively easy, I think. How does white win the game here? Okay. I'll move my king here.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to hang on to this pawn now.
it's okay. I see. That's not a good move.
Yeah, I don't think that's a very good move here. So, have you heard of
I was
the?
thinking
Yeah.
this. I was thinking maybe this and just doing this.
Okay. I think this just loses to a
So you could
push
just
because of the fact that black has these three pawns and white only has one. The king is fast enough to catch this always, and if the king ever steps up, then this pawn marches.
yeah, okay.
No, it's okay. It's not. I didn't mean to say it was like super easy or anything. I just thought that it would be an idea that popped into your head. So just
I maybe did.
okay. And obviously black can't take, so black has to defend. And what's the only move? If this, then I just take,
So,
right? And now what? Okay. And if I go back,
oh, okay. Yeah, never mind.
no, that was correct. No. C7 was correct.
Oh, that's correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Wait. What happens here? What does white play?
Oh,
It's yeah. Sometimes it's just the simplest moves, right?
yeah, it takes.
Hmm. Yeah, sometimes it's the simplest moves. Anyways, in this original position that we got to here, I kind of want you to always be thinking of checks first, and then captures, and then attacks. So if you'd done that in this position, then you would have come up with three checks, right? There's this check, which doesn't make sense, obviously. This check, which is the first one you tried, but you ran into this problem. And then the final check that you should try before you even look at anything else in a position is c6. And from here, again, like last time, it's all forced, right? Black only has forced moves, so it should be easy for you, or like relatively easy to calculate this. Because after this, you know that black's only move is going back, and after this, you know that black's only move is here. And after this, black's only move is here, and then you're promoting,
Yeah,
right?
last lesson you also told me about forcing lines and how to focus on them.
Yeah, pretty much. It's I know I'm sorry for giving you the same advice again, but I do think that it's what you should be focusing on because um I don't know, in my eyes, immediately the first idea is c6 just because of the fact that this rook only has one defender, and if I'm starting with check, then I always have tempo, which means that I'm the one deciding how the game is going to play out here, right? Does that make sense?
That does, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, we'll take a look at one more position here. Another one from the middle game. And I kind of want you to tell me what you see in this position and what you would play as white.
Okay, so I see this diagonal.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I see the idea of also taking.
Okay.
See this file over here, which is semi file.
Yeah, and it'll be completely open if we take the knight, right?
No.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I can also circulate this.
Right? But this queen isn't really close to being trapped. The queen has a lot of squares here.
Yeah, yeah. It's just an idea. Yeah, I think that's what probably is.
Okay, that's very interesting. So you didn't see the primary idea in this position, but you saw basically every other idea. Um, okay, okay. Here, so you saw this capture, right? But I want you to go like a step further, and instead of just starting to capture, maybe is there some way that we could remove the defender of this knight? Yeah, exactly. It's a simple pawn push, right? And obviously, if black takes, then we take with tempo, and it's better for white. And if black takes here, we just win a knight. If black pushes, we win a knight. I'm actually curious to see what would happen if black took here, because taking here seems incredibly strong. And after any like queen move like this, we just take this pawn. And of course, the rook can't recapture because we have this tactic at the end of it all.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is again a little interesting to me that your idea, you're maybe you're adverse to pawn moves. I don't know if you've noticed that in your games or anything, if you like go through and analyze your games, and maybe the most common idea that you miss in a game is a pawn push, because in the last position as well, you kind of ignored it until the very end. But don't don't treat pawns as just peasants or something. They can be very powerful, and they dictate a lot of how the game is meant to be played. I think that your mind should have gone to e5. Like it should have snapped to e5 pretty quickly, just because, well, like you said, it kind of enables all your other ideas, right? Your other two strong ideas in this position with the diagonal and this capture are both enhanced by this pawn not being here. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, maybe I do miss a lot of pawn moves. I think in my games, I don't think I pay attention as much as I should to them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. All right. Let's go take a look at another concept that I sort of want to discuss here, and it's called the backwards pawn. So, do you know what a backwards pawn is?
I think it's a pawn that doesn't have. I think it can't be defended by any other pawn.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have any other defenders like defenders.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. So, is that like your daughter or something?
No,
Oh.
it's my brother.
Oh. Okay. Hope he's doing well. Uh.
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yeah. Of course. So in this position as white, could you first actually could you highlight to me or like just circle all the backwards pawns in the position, both black and white? Mm-hmm.
I think this counts and this.
Uh, I think that the H pawn doesn't technically count just because of the fact that it can be pushed. Same with the G pawn, so that it can be. I'm not
Okay,
entirely
I
sure.
understand.
Yeah. So you missed the big one on D6 here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
These rocks kind of weird out here, but I can already see an idea with this pawn.
Right. What's the idea that you're seeing?
Well, the thing is, it can't really move away to capture because I always have this. I can always take.
Mm-hmm.
One of my ideas was something like this pawn push.
Right. And obviously black can't take because then you lose the whole rook. And if black pushes,
Pushes. That looks a good move to me, but fine, that's why it's bad.
yeah, so checking with Stockfish, it's approximately even. But in this position, I would much prefer white for a few different reasons, okay? So one, I can undouble my C pawns, or sorry, my F pawns, right? Just by capturing. A position like this, black does have two strong passed pawns in the center, but we have a kingside majority. Sorry, I should probably be doing this in different colors. A kingside majority and a queenside majority, which I'm very happy with. And black has these central pawns that aren't going to be too strong, just because they can't really like this pawn is has to be defended at all times by both the rooks, right? And my king can start sweeping in here. So in an endgame, I would prefer white here just because of the fact that I have ideas like pushing on the queen side and creating myself a passed pawn.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see that, but like, yeah, maybe for me it was like 15, 1600. It's a bit harder to see, like, to make those plans come to like, actually like to
Fruition.
solidify. But yeah, I can definitely see them.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, do you think that this is like helping, like just looking at these positions and identifying that because of this passed pawn, we have an idea here.
Yeah,
So what's another
it has an open.
yeah, so what's another move in this position that you might play? So there is a winning move here. Yeah, exactly. And just after takes.
Was the first move I thought of here. Then I could. Okay. I don't think we hold this.
Yeah.
times. Ready again, but you can just after this you can still push. I think.
Yeah, yeah, and
In this
it's
case, I don't have double pawn.
yeah, this is the exact position that we reached earlier in the other line, right? With our three pawns versus the two. Okay, anyways, the idea here isn't to push, actually, because of the fact that black can just counter push. Instead, we want to keep this pawn a weak backwards pawn for the rest of the game. Yeah, yeah, so that's an idea. Just plugging up the d5 square. But alternatively, we're already controlling the d5 square just with our pawn here, right?
Right, yeah.
This pawn is going to stay here forever, which means that these rooks are going to stay here forever, which means that our king basically can just march wherever he wants. And I mean, that's a little ridiculous, right? But you can imagine this king just coming in here, supporting this pawn push eventually, and like winning some rooks. Okay, great. Let's continue with the second part. We're gonna look at some pawn structures. So here, who's winning, black or white?
Uh, I mean, there's a pass pawn, pass pawn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, these squares are covered, so I can't really watch. Like I can't really watch my king.
Mm-hmm.
Um, do that pawn. You can always march his king down. There's these pawn pushes which could create a pass pawn. I think.
Mm-hmm.
This position, black is winning.
Okay. Okay, that's an interesting evaluation that you came to. Um,
I
so
think black's king is also just stuck here actually, because if he ever moves too far away, I could just raise queen.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like you're entirely right, like just playing some random moves. If black decides to come up this way, just one more careless move and now white's queening, right?
Yeah.
So in this position, I like your way of thinking, and I'm glad that you showed me what you think. But it's actually a little different just because of the fact that we have this pawn on the sixth rank, and you know how pieces are their values aren't really like defined as just pawn being one and a knight being three, right? Like you can imagine if there was a knight over here, for example, or like over here on this outpost controlling all these squares, then it would be like a monster knight. It'd be worth as much as a queen and whatnot, right? Sorry, excuse me.
So yeah.
Yeah. Also, the fact that these three pawns, they're kind of held back by these two pawns. We're controlling because black actually can't push. Something like this, I can just take, and these two aren't going to be fast enough until, because my king is always in range to like scoop these guys up. And if black wastes moves, then I mean I'm queening here first of all. But also, even if I didn't have this pawn, it still wouldn't matter, just because after takes, this pawn is not going to be protected at all. I'm just gonna come eat it. So in this position, actually, white is completely winning. It's probably like made in like 30 or something. Um, but yeah, I find that interesting. And also, if black just shuffles back and forth between these two squares, then the white king can actually. It doesn't matter that these two. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter that these two squares are blocked right now because eventually they'll be open with this pawn push, and then you can literally like just march
Yeah.
over the board, do whatever you'd like. So it's interesting. You had the right ideas, but you reached the wrong conclusion.
Yeah.
That's okay. No worries. Let's look at the second one. Here's a chance to redeem yourself. Who's better here, black or white?
Pawn structure too. The white king is also kind of locked into this here because if he moves too far away, there's pass pawn king.
Mm-hmm. Have you heard of the rule
But
of the
yeah,
square?
I don't think I have.
I think Magnus Carlsen himself actually had a video on it, like in the past month or something. But
Yeah, I
whenever,
think I watched it, but yeah, I don't remember it.
yeah, whenever there's a passed pawn that's about to queen, there's essentially a square that gets formed on the four corners. And the way that this essentially works is, let me just make some random moves. This is the furthest that the king can be, because you can like see this, right? Um, if the king is anywhere outside of this square that I'm drawing here in red, then white is lost. But if he's within this square, then white is not lost yet, because this pawn cannot promote while this king is within this square. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
If white is anywhere outside of this square, like here, 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 whatever, any square on the board outside of that, the pawn promotes. But if it's within this square right here, I want you to always visualize this, then white is okay. So
I still do think that black is better.
yeah, I would agree with you. Let me
His
just
structure. His structure, you could just watch the stones. Just
yeah.
watch the stone and egg and yeah.
Exactly. So you've got the completely right idea, and I can even shoulder off. Like the white king is essentially stuck in this cage. I mean, what do you really want? Like this is probably like an idea for white to make it harder for the king, but still, I mean, just like this, right? And black is completely
Yeah.
winning here. So let's take a look at one more, and then we'll take a look at the game. So who's better here, black or white? This one's a little more complicated, I think.
Stuff like triangulation and stuff. I don't think there's a need for that. Yeah.
Hmm.
This is an idea because now he's kind of forced into moving, say here, so he can move here.
Okay.
The white to move or black to move?
It's white to move.
Black to move. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, that applies. Can't move out of it.
Yep.
For the same reason, I think. Also, if I play something like this king can't really enter unless he wants to go around.
Yeah.
The square is blocked, and no, it looks like a stalemate now. I just go back. Actually,
Yeah. So this is, I'm sorry to like I know we just talked about the square and the rule of the square, but yeah, yeah, when the pawn's there, it's a little different. Yeah. Exactly. Sorry about that.
yeah, I see.
Yeah. I feel like I just lied to you or something. The square is a good rule typically, but obviously there's that exception. And unfortunately this is an exception.
No problem. I at least just I figured out myself, so I learned something on my own.
Mhm.
So I think black is probably winning here also.
Yes, you'd be exactly right. Black is winning. I mean, even a simple move like, let me just make this move, and now you can kind of see why black is so much better. Even if white had a third pawn here, actually no, maybe not here, but like if white had a third pawn here, it wouldn't matter because black's pawns, these two, basically control all of white's movement. There is no pawn break that
Yeah.
makes sense for white, and basically, all white can do is just sit around and wait while black slowly puts his king in position and either wins all your pawns and then wins the game, or you just I don't know. Like there's nothing that white can do, and he's essentially paralyzed. His king again is paralyzed because of this passed pawn. So always look at whoever has the passed pawn. They're typically going to be doing better in an end game. And I think that once you're able to identify this and start using it in your own end games or in your, just with pawn structures in general, you'll start to form plans and understand what pieces are going to be stuck where. Black, I mean, white may as well not even have a king just because of the fact that it's essentially stuck to just these squares, right? Like
Yeah.
maybe here. Yeah, here. Um, so like black just, yeah. So you understand, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll just quickly take a look at this game between Nimzowitsch and Capablanca. So Capablanca was black here. Let me actually flip this so that we look at it from his angle. What would you play as black? Or actually, first of all, what do you see in this position? Obviously, my bad.
Um, I see this diagonal. That's irrelevant, but like, cause I always like can't play that.
All right,
I see this bishop buying down this knight, I guess.
right.
This diagonal, that's also. Um, that's also something I could do.
Yes, yes, very good. This pawn, this B pawn, is very, very not a good pawn. Let me just say that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What else?
Um, Fictional weapons.
Here, if let's say that we traded the queens and the minor pieces off, right? And we just have played with the rooks. Whose rooks would be better? Yeah, so if we just looked at like the four rooks, whose rooks do you think are better?
I think my rook still, because this rook is kind of trapped, and if it does go here, it still has this, like, it's blocked. I can always bring my rocks in easier, I think. Also, I'm not threatening this pawn in the first place.
Yeah, yeah, you're threatening the B2 pawn and you're threatening the A4 pawn. Or well, not threatening, but the B2 pawn is weak. Um, you never really as a rook, you never want to be on this sort of guard duty, keeping track of this pawn, because it's just not a very fun job. And obviously, this pawn can never move because I mean, let's just play a random move. This pawn never moves, and this knight obviously falls, right?
Yeah.
So Capablanca correctly played the best move, which is rook e to b8. And what was the point of this move?
So, like, he could have some ideas of stacking over here, so afterwards you could do something like, sorry,
Yeah,
just an idea.
yeah. I think that actually works. If I just play a random move, just this.
Does, it does work.
Yeah, and we're just up a piece. Actually, no, now we're just even, but I mean, I'm winning, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah. It's probably better to take with the queen here, actually, just to not get
Yeah,
checked here.
because if you do this, you have, I think, this.
It's not a perpetual because I have, yeah, that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it is an idea, definitely. I wouldn't want to fall into it. Anyways, in the game, after rook eb8, Nimzowitsch played queen e3, and now rook b4 is very strong, right? So why did Capablanca play rook b4? Well, there's two ideas. I'm just gonna tell them to you. The first idea you should immediately see. It's the one we initially discussed of this, right? Here, obviously, if I play bishop here, then you just take. But now I can bring my rook in, and now this is guarded too many times. And the other threat that you may or may not have noticed is my rook can now double up and hit this pawn. So Nimzowitsch played queen g5, getting out of this. But now, just bishop d4 check anyways. And after king h1, rook a b8. And this game is actually pretty much over. There's no way for yeah, like this is gonna fall, this is gonna fall, this is gonna fall, this is gonna fall. Like everything in black structure is entirely collapsing. I think in the game Nimzowitsch just took the thing and sacrificed the exchange and then like slowly lost the game because there's no way he can really protect all of his pieces and obviously everything is his shambles. Um, so yeah, my point here with showing you this position was to get you to identify the different ideas that are lurking. And I'm glad that you saw this, and I'm glad that you saw this. It definitely means that your eyes are in the right place. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had planned for today's lesson. Do you have any questions or anything that you want to go over again?
I guess not really, but like if we do have a lesson again, then I think focusing more on like basically the same stuff and like having like a repetition, so I can like kind of like puzzles, so I
Okay.
can kind of understand like the things that would be really good also.
Mm-hmm. What do you
In
think of the
terms of
pawn structure
questions,
ones?
yeah,
Sorry, yeah.
about it.
What did you think of the
I
pawn
was saying like
structures?
in terms of questions,
Okay, sorry, yeah, you go. You go
yeah.
first.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying in terms of questions, I probably don't have any.
Okay. Yeah. Did you like the pawn structure ones? I know this is something different than what we did last time, but I thought it might help. And we did learn the rule of the square, as well as when it can't work because of this pawn here. Was that helpful for you? Would you like more pawn structures, or would you just like the tactical puzzles that we had the last time and more middle game positions like these?
I think the pawn ones were really helpful also.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of game applications, I think in terms of game applications that is like really common,
Mm-hmm.
really good skill to kind of develop, and yeah, I like them a lot also. And also these middle game positions also is good to think about the ideas and stuff and train your brain to be able to see them.
Right. Okay. Uh, yeah. If that's all, I'll definitely think about this for the next lesson as well. And thank you for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night.
Yeah, thank you for your lesson.
My pleasure.